At a party, teenagers were talking about a popular mobile app recently, which could predict the user's time to live. This girl showed her friend that she could live another 60 years. This girl had 30 years to live. Only Courtney's facial expression dropped. It was shown on the app, she could only live for 3 hours more. Looking at Courtney's face, the crowd laughed. They didn't take it for granted. After the party, Courtney's boyfriend took her home. She saw that her boyfriend had been drunk. Though she told him not to drink too much, he didn't listen to her. Courtney suddenly thought about the strange app. She decided to get out of the car and walk by herself. All of a sudden, there was a strange sound on the mobile phone. She took it out to have a look. It said 7 minutes to go. She was a little scared. The night was dark. The more she walked, the more afraid she was. The phone rang again. Less than 2 minutes to go. She was completely flustered, rushing into the house. Her phone was still ringing. The more she thought about it, the more frightened she was. So she turned off her phone. That calmed her down a little. Then she went into the bathroom. She wanted to pour herself a glass of water, but she suddenly heard stranger noises behind the shower curtain. She was breathing hard. When she was about to reach for the curtain, suddenly, when she fell, the timer counted down to 0. Her game was over, and at the same time, her drunk boyfriend caused a car accident. A huge branch pierced through the passenger seat. It was supposed to be Courtney sitting there. Even if she didn't get out of the car, her death was inevitable tonight. Her boyfriend didn't die and was taken to the hospital. Quinn was a nurse in that hospital. She noticed that Evan was upset. She came and comforted him. Evan showed her the strange app and told her how long he could live. He only had 19 hours left. If Courtney's death didn't happen by accident, he was going to die today. Quinn didn't believe it. She just told Evan not to think much of it. She told her colleagues about the app at a lunch break. 2 curious colleagues immediately launched the app. It turned out that both had more than 50 years to live. Why couldn't they take it seriously and smile? After work, Quinn couldn't help but get curious. She immediately downloaded it, but she found out according to the app, she only had 2 days left. Though she didn't believe it, she was still a little upset. On the other side, Evan was going to get into an operation. He looked at the countdown on his cell phone. 3 minutes to go. Could he die in the operating room? He decided not to do the operation and left. But when he came to the corner and looked into the mirror, there seemed to be something behind him. He ran into a corridor. The lights in the corridor suddenly went out. The phone rang. He took it out to have a look. There was 1 minute 29 seconds left. At this time, footsteps came from the corridor. He looked up. It was Courtney. Evan was stunned. Courtney was approaching him. Just as the countdown went to 0, Evan fell off the stairs and died on the spot. The next day, Quinn learned about Evan's death. She felt bad for him. She found his phone and wanted to check the countdown, but she couldn't unlock it. So she went to the morgue to find Evan's body. She grabbed his hand and used his fingerprint to unlock the phone. But it went to no avail. She couldn't help but open his eyes again. This time, his face recognition unlocked the phone. The countdown had come to 0. She came back to her desk, looking at the countdown, which showed she had less than 2 days to live. Anxiously, the doctor called her to the ward. In the beginning, he just called her for help. Then he began to harass Quinn, eventually trying to rape her. Quinn pushed the doctor away. This doctor had a high status in the hospital. Quinn couldn't report him. In addition, now she had something more important to worry about. Coming home in the evening, she tried to delete the app, but it was unable to delete now. Quinn was getting more and more anxious. On the second day, Jordan, her sister, visited her. She wanted to stay with her for a few days. But because strange things happened recently, Quinn didn't want her sister to be involved and just told her to go. Jordan didn't understand and left angrily. Quinn came to the mobile store and bought a new phone and phone card. Looking at the new mobile phone finally free of the app, she let out a sigh of relief. But as soon as she got to the door, her phone rang. She saw the strange app installed automatically, haunting her like a ghost. She went back to the car. Seeing that there was less than a day left, she was extremely anxious. Then she saw a shadow in the reversing radar. It immediately disappeared when she turned around. When she was wondering about it, suddenly, she got out of the car and the ghost hand was gone. The car owner whom she hit came up. He acted aggressively and tried to trick her money. A black man came out of the mobile store, driving the car owner away and helping her out. Then he showed her his phone. He was going through the same problem as she was. So they decided to help each other out. They came to a church to find the priest and ask for help. They told the priest what happened to them. After hearing their stories, he looked for an old curse. There was a curse in legend. It allowed people to predict their death, but they couldn't avoid death. If they broke the deal with the devil, they would be tortured to death. The priest didn't know why this curse became an app, the app operated by the devil. Matt listened to the priest with questions written on his face. To break the curse, they had to get the code of the app. It required a technical master. At this time, Quinn thought the mobile store owner was a master in technology. They rushed to the mobile store and asked the owner to crack the app at a high price. The owner hacked into the software of the app. He saw the lifespans of all people in the world. He also saw the names of 7 women. Quinn's life was shorter than she thought. Quinn was in a panic, but the shop owner calmly changed the number on the code. He helped her gain 60 years more. At the first glance, the countdown on the phone had increased. Then he helped Quinn and the other people gain for a decade. Would they all live that long? Eventually, Matt and Quinn were relieved. The relationship between them was also gradually warming up. One night, when Quinn was already on the bed, someone hugged her from behind. She thought it was Matt at first, but Matt came in through the door. Quinn's phone suddenly rang. She took a look at it. Turned out, the countdown had been triggered again. It seemed that the devil had found them cheated. Matt only had less than 2 hours. What should he do? Quinn rushed to pick up her sister. The 3 went to the priest together. Quinn showed the code to the priest. After seeing it, something flashed in the priest's mind. As long as one person didn't die at the specified time on the app, the curse would be broken. In other words, one of them had to sacrifice, to die before the countdown. None of the 3 volunteered. The priest said it was just a fight with the devil. To protect the sacrificed person, the priest got salt to in the paint, letting them draw a circular pattern on the ground. It was said that this pattern could block the devil. They were standing in the circle. There was a strange roar all around them. Here came the devil, but the priest's method worked. The devil was kept out of the circle. They fell into a tense confrontation. Just then, Matt suddenly saw his dead brother. He was stunned for a moment and went out with 1 foot. Then he was dragged away by the ghost hand. Quinn caught up with him. Jordan followed her out of the circle. Quinn saw that Matt was still alive. Just when he said he was all right, he fell and died. Jordan was also injured when she came after Quinn. The wound kept bleeding. Quinn could only take her to the hospital. Jordan was bandaged, but they didn't have much time left. At this time, Quinn saw the abnormal doctor. She remembered that he also downloaded the app. She just had an idea. Letting this doctor die earlier than he was supposed to, the curse would break. She took the initiative to seduce the doctor, leading him to an abandoned warehouse. He was knocked down by a sneak attack. She held up a needle. It was a lethal dose of morphine. When she was about to give it to the doctor was dragged away by a strange force. It was the devil who saved him. Game over. Jordan only had less than 2 minutes left. The devil had found her. At the last moment, Quinn came, and she put the needle in her arm. She was going to kill herself beforehand, breaking the curse and saving her sister. She said goodbye to her. Then in front of the devil, she took the needle and fell to the ground. The devil held Quinn up. Quinn looked at the devil scornfully and died. The devil was very angry, but he could only slowly disappear with reluctance. Finally, the rescued sister crawled to Quinn. She cried and begged her not to leave. At this time, she suddenly found a line on her sister's arm. Naloxone was the name of the medicine. It turned out that Quinn had planned this. She sneaked a bottle of medicine that could save her life. Jordan injected the medicine into Quinn's arm according to the prompt. Quinn woke up. She succeeded in deceiving the devil, saving her sister and herself. After a month, Quinn returned to her normal life. The perverted doctor was also charged, sentenced to 7 years in prison. Everything was getting better and better. But one day, Quinn's phone rang that strange prompt sound again. She took it out. All it said was Countdown 2.0.